Hey, I thought I'd do a quick port review for the Switch version of Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Now, before I start, I should mention that I also talked about this in the PC port review I put up yesterday. This game scales up in how crazy it gets, like pretty slowly. So I don't think anybody's going to have an accurate like stress test of the frame rate until much later into the game's launch window, maybe like a week or two from now. Even Digital Foundry, as many resources as they have, they would still have to play this game for dozens of hours to really stress test things. But my experience has been pretty good so far. Now, there is a day one patch that they put out. I believe it's about 200 megs. It seems to have improved the frame rate outside of town a little bit. However, I did play on 1.0 for a while. I actually had to pick up the game from GameStop, and then I went to the mall and I didn't have internet access for a short time. It doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. However, they did uncap the frame rate outside of town, so basically fields, dungeons, and towns in general. Actually, outside of battle, I mean. Sorry. The game loads up pretty quickly. Not much to say there. Aside from these logos. You have to watch this every time, unfortunately. So you can see here that it's obviously uncapped. The game also looks considerably worse in docked mode. I think if you're going to play this mostly like either off the TV or away from home, then this is actually really a good port overall. And definitely looks really nice in portable mode. But in docked mode, it definitely looks a little kind of like it has a Vaseline filter on it. So you can see here, it's like it's not quite 30 FPS, but it's not 60 either. It's uncapped. It definitely depends on the area that you're in. Like if I go inside the inn right now, it'll be a rock solid 60. Like you can see how fluid this gets. It doesn't seem like there's anything like a dynamic resolution or anything like that. It's just they decided to uncap it for whatever reason. I honestly think it would have been better if they just had an option to cap it at 30. It'd be much less jarring going inside and outside of battle. Even like sometimes certain parts of the same like loaded area, like without going to another loading zone, the frame rate can drop. I know that bothers some people. Some people are particularly, I don't know the word for it, but they're more receptive, or they notice really rapid, constant drops in frame rate. But this game is not like something like Chrono Trigger, which has a very similar system in terms of how you encounter the enemies. Like, there's no real precision movements in this game for the most part, and even if there were, you have these holy bottles and you can basically just avoid battles completely. So it's not that big of an issue. The game does considerably look worse in docked mode, though. So let me go into a battle here. You can see it's a pretty rock solid 60 FPS. I have seen some people notice some drops, but like I said, it's not something that can really be passed judgment on. There hasn't been anybody that's uploaded a port review or pretty much any high-level footage at all from what I've seen. The game just did officially come out today. There were some people who got it early, but I doubt they really no-life the game to get to the point where you could actually really stress test the game. I think the easiest way to stress test the game would probably have Rita and Overlimit spamming a bunch of stuff. That was what tended to kind of make their frame rate drop a little bit, but even on the old 360 and PS3 versions, it was never really much of an issue. And the Switch, in terms of its processing power, is pretty similar to like an Xbox 360. I think it's between like an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One, but don't take my word on that. Now, there is one thing that's kind of an issue, depending on how often you change your control mode. If you want to change your control mode, you have to use the minus button on the Joy-Con, and if you have a regular Joy-Con, you know how small that thing is. So, in terms of playing this at a high level, where sometimes you want to actually switch from manual to semi-auto without going to a menu, it can be really hard to push that button. It's not really meant to be pushed quickly, in the heat of battle or anything like that. It's supposed to be more of a select button, but unfortunately, that's where it's mapped in this game. So that can be a bit of an issue. However, if you're playing at home, you can obviously use a Pro Controller or a PS4 controller like I'm using right now. It does default to the standard control scheme for imported, or not imported, but localized Tales games. So that's nice compared to the PC version where you have to reverse the buttons if you're used to playing all the other, internationally released Tales games. So let's do one more battle, and you guys can see the overall difference in the frame rate. Playing this between portable and docked mode is like a night and day difference. It definitely looks a lot better in portable mode. Also, if you go on the eShop, I had to actually search for it manually, but they do have the Time Saver DLC here. When I first bought the game this afternoon, they did not have it up, but it is there. You can search for it. If it's not up yet, you can go to Tales of Vesperia on the search bar, and then filter it to downloadable content that'll appear. So it's got parity with all the other versions there. Also, it has a pretty standard save menu, so that's nice as well. But yeah, that's basically it. It's a pretty solid port. I would definitely recommend playing it more in portable mode. If you want to play it in docked mode, it's probably better to get it on one of the other platforms if that's an option for you. It does look a little off. I'm not sure if it's using a dynamic resolution or not, but it is in native res in portable mode, which is one of the reasons why it looks nice. It's very similar to Vita games. Vita games that were sub-native res looked a lot worse than the ones that were native res. I haven't had a bad experience with the frame rate at all. I am kind of sensitive to, frame rates dropping, kind of at a jarring rate or a rapid rate. But the battles themselves have been fine, and like I said, this game already has numerous ways to kind of avoid battles, so it's not going to be something like Chrono Trigger. We had really precise ways to move the character to avoid fights and things like that. Anyway, that's it. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.